Well, I have to confess, I don't know what I'm going to say. I shall put some images up. That one tells me where to stand and who I am in case I forget. Because I've been told I'm nearly 80 and I feel a lot older. I'm going to show you a 4-minute film, and that means it gets all my old stuff done in the 60s out of the way, and then I will simply show you some images that will take you up to where I am now. And I've never been busier, so I'm just going to keep going until I hit 100. Okay. That's great. I can go now. I've decided to call this, I call it more of a presentation because I won't be talking a lot because I haven't got much voice. It's on the theme of work and play. Work is what I get paid to do, right up till now. So I was asked to put a painting into the Royal Academy by one of the curators who had a free hand with one of the rooms. So I found a road sign lying, I stole it. I put it under my arm, and then I painted it out, the man out. And so it's kind of a self-portrait. And I mean, that's sort of going everywhere with prints and God knows what. So, but what I'm delighted with is those two small kids drawing it in the Royal Academy. And I think it probably was the easiest thing to draw. So I was very flattered by that. I'm somebody who actually enjoys working with something in my hand, and this goes back to being a child, with always wanting to draw, always using colored pencils, and in that respect, I have to do that first. The ideas come, I work them through, bit of paint, bit of mess, bit of that, lots of mess, and then I have a wonderful ex-student of mine from the Royal College of Art called Henrik Kubel. He really is a star, typographically, and designs superb fonts, but he helps me technically. So we collaborate on quite a few things, particularly with typefaces like New Transport. So moving on, well, I went to Chelsea School of Art, having had a very good beginning in South Africa at Pretoria Girls High School, where I was a boarder. And so that was in the Natural History Museum, and I used to just love drawing. And as an illustrator, we were actually trained to actually draw with a pen, because you can't rub that out, and you've got to really but it does teach you about observation. The animals on the left are obviously stuffed, or whatever the word is, but the woman's not, so that's all right. Right, I'm showing that because that's the very first job that I could call my own, and that was for the P&O Orient Line labels. And Jock Kinnear, who taught me at Chelsea and offered me the job to be his assistant, he did the main labels, which were tie-on ones, using primary colours, and these were the adhesive labels. So I came up with that. I call that an idea, but very important to actually have them colours that were quite sort of subtle and more interesting. And also that's my first attempt at drawing lettering, because that kind of typeface just didn't exist. And now I'm showing you what I'm known for, which is the road signs, and I get credit for doing everything, and I didn't. Jock Kinnear got the job, I worked with him, we had a team, and it was under enormous pressure. We had to make presentations to two committees. The first one was called, set up by the government, the Anderson Committee, and the second one was motorway signs, and the second one was the War Boys Committee. And I was in my very early 20s then, and Jock had flu one day, and I had to make a presentation. So I spent all my money on a suit to look the part, and that was a very terrifying, well, almost as terrifying as this. So these, what we call these maquettes, they sort of scale models, and they were all done by hand, all cut out with a Swan Morton knife, using die lines, and you can see in the four, somebody hasn't bothered to cut it out. I mean, we were all doing this work, a team of about 5 of us. Right, so I'll go through these quite quickly, but the signs actually haven't changed that much. And they are determined to keep them as the original system, but of course with modifications to update them. And that's a motorway one. They're in a red box in St Bride Library. Those were photographed by Henrik, who looks after me. That's in the Design Museum, I think. Yes, and that was an exhibition designed by Bibliothèque, who've been speakers here, celebrating classic modern British design. So that gives you a sense of the scale of the motorway signs. I mean, you've got all that here now, so this is all past history, or history. And that is British Rail alphabet. There was no Helvetica then, thank goodness, but so that was a system to enable you to anybody to actually lay out the signs for British Railways, which was nationalised then, and now it's privatised, so that's all gone, and something else has replaced it, and now someone's thinking of nationalising it again. So where they get the money from, I don't know. It should all go on housing. And that's Paddington Station in the rush hour. And that's Danish Railways, who bought the manual for £100 and applied the whole system. And they did it very, very well, because the Danes are fantastic at design. And that was part of the British Airports Authority when it was run by the British. It's all changed now. It's run by Santander. And that was Glasgow Airport, corporate identity. But I do like the way the negative spaces work in relation to the positive spaces. So it means if the planes are coming in, they're all going to land in the same spot, and that wouldn't be good. And that you've seen before, that's the Tyne and Wear Metro. And the face, everybody was using sans serif faces for public transport and hospital, airports a lot. And I just thought, Newcastle is such an architecturally rich city that it needed something richer. And there were vitreous enamel signs. Again, those have all been torn down with new designs, new this and that, but they've stuck to the lettering. And that's all over the Tyne and Wear at Newcastle. It was originally done for a new town in France called Saint-Quentin-en-Yvelines. We had to think about a big report first, the whole look and feel of this new town. So I thought, oh, good chance to sort of have a go at a new typeface. And anyway, they said it looked too English. So I thought, fantastic, I'll use it for Newcastle, and I'll use it for the Royal College of Art. This is jumping forward to 2012, where, working with Henrik, we worked on new transports, because you can actually buy it. And then the government thought, oh, great, they would like to use it for their website, gov.uk. And I think that's been talked about. So I always draw like that. It's not how you should do it, but if I can give anybody any advice, you do it your way. And this is now the different weights. I can go through this quite quickly. And that's gov.uk. So that's the end of work, right? This is the beginning of play. And this was invited by well, you can see anyway, to do their menus. And they ask a Royal Designer for Industry to do the menus and the invitations each year. And as I'm not paid for it, I call it play. But it's equally challenging and hard. When they usually want something about road signs. So I messed about with different colors because it was very low budget. So you just washed the screens down and changed the color. Invitations on the left, menus on the right. This is an unusual project on the theme of collaboration, which was set up by a group called It's Nice That. And Marion Duchamp, who's an extremely brilliant, famous illustrator and friend, it was a very difficult relationship working with someone. We're not prima donnas at all. But she just said, oh, Margaret, why don't we mess about with the road signs? So I just took that sign, and it just happened to be the 50th anniversary of the motorway signs. So I did this meticulous drawing so that everything has to be precisely done according to that, because you're working with big sign manufacturers and it goes through different processes. So anyway, and I enjoy doing them. I actually, love doing that. So that's just the idea. Once it's cut up, just 3 cuts, and it says 50th anniversary of the M1. You've all got that, haven't you? And then that's Marion putting it up the real thing, and that's actual real sign, not full size to scale. And then that's me and George Hardy criticizing something. He doesn't like the shape of the numeral 1. And that's the real thing. And that's the real thing at night when nobody can see it. But I think it just looks really great like that, so that's why I put it in. And then there's always off-spins with a job that you're working on. Ideas. That was for NB Studios. They asked me to forecast the future of transport. So in that sign that you just seen, you get the word unstable. So I stuck that up. And I like backs, so that's the back. It's better than the front. And they did a lot of work on that to make it look really professional. And I think basically I've always been an amateur. And that's based on road signs for Neville Brody's experimental typeface thing. And it's called A26, 26 letters of the alphabet. And A26 is a road, but it doesn't actually exist. But that doesn't matter. So they're all, the A is, if you spin it round, it says no left turn. So that, and actually it's incredibly legible as a typeface. So that was the lowercase. Then they said they want caps. This is ridiculous to have caps for that. But anyway, so I just switched them pointing up. So those are the capitals. And that actually is the text. And I'm sure you can all read it. And that's all digitally done. So it's actually an essay that I've written about the road signs, the history of it, which puts Jock in the right place because he got the job, not me. So it's a collaboration. And then you have to sort of use, you can't just do a typeface for the hell of it. And the Tour de France was going through Yorkshire, Sheffield. So I put it on the T-shirt, because that's what they asked. Again, an invitation to several designers to do T-shirts, and I ran out of red paint. And that is, again, another invitation by a Swedish design group, invited 10 designers. We were all given a number to do a door number, a door sign. And I got number 5. And Zaha Hadid, who I think is fantastic, had an exhibition at that time. And I was just very inspired by how she draws curves and uses them. And then I thought, wonderful to have the fixing, just one fixing. So, well, you can see it's sort of like the scream. It's painful. I like to take rides on buses, and I was lucky because that's Thomas Heatherwick's new red buses, the Route Masters, and I thought, great to do a typeface on it. So I did, and that's it. On the left. And I didn't have the balls, because I don't have balls, to actually put the one on the left in. And so I experimented just with a G for double-decker bus and G. And I thought, if you can get away with it. So that was that. That's the Calvert lettering on the Royal College of Art. That's my diary when I was running the department. And you can see why I was never made a professor. And that was a calendar I designed for them with all the staff doing individual pages. And it just says RCA. Well, you can see it. So you're very lucky to have the word calendar. And it's also got end as well. And that's using Gill. And otherwise, I only use my own typefaces. That I'm still working on. That was for a competition for Wigan's Teep. I came third. And that's, again, you can see it's all very messy, stuck down. And the idea being that using light with coloured acetate, you just tip the angle of it, and when it's midday, the shadows are shorter because it's above. So it's all very subtle. That's, again, a job for the Arts Council of Great Britain. Very low budget, all letterpress, several exhibitions. The type where they were, that had to be all changed. I think it's Baskerville, but I'm not too sure. And I painted that little painting from a small paint box that I've got. And that was, for me, was an enormous challenge because I'd almost forgotten how to, And this I have to tell you about because this is something called Secret. It's a big exhibition that the RCA hold every year. They you're invited to do anything on an A6 card. And it's a secret. They sell them for about £50 each. About 2,000, they all go. Because the money goes to support students. It was initiated by fine art, but now it's broader. It's for all the students. And I really like that photograph. But it looks amazing. And that's going to happen in March, and also they have it in Dubai as well. And then I repainted the painting because that was my contribution at that particular year. And it just fitted A6. But I have to say that took me so long, I really regretted giving it to them. And so that's something different. I was given 3 cards that year. So I was just sort of exploring different colorways because I'm really love working with color. And those aren't the real ones. Those are just the rough ones on my desk. And that on the left is an actual self-portrait, right? And I was trying to say I'm old. You shouldn't be embarrassed about being old or young or anything. Just be grateful that you're alive and having such a great time in a place like this. And the one on the right, I was actually trying to go for sans taste, and that's why it's very vulgar. And that's a quickie. You see, sometimes you can just do something very quickly, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I was sort of playing with that theme quite a lot. So those were 2 cards that followed. And then I'm trying something different on the theme of repeat, because I had 6 cards. So I haven't time to do 6 cards, so it had to be a quick idea. I always try the coloured pencils out, because that's just a worksheet. So those were the 6 cards, and you can do them very quickly, but I thought, no, very boring. If you buy one on its own, it only works as a set. So I gave that up. And then terrible floods in Britain that particular year, so I did this. And then I got interested in the golden section because I've never really understood it. But when you start drawing something, you then find out what it's all about. So again, that was a rough, and I did one for Dubai, reading from right to left, and for London, left to right. So they had a relationship. And then I did the same with colour, and those are all the colours of the rainbow, because they just fitted the number. And you can see the actual proportion of the golden section right in the middle. And then I thought, with the A proportions and sizes, do the same thing on an A6 card, but not for secrets, for my own personal use, because I get so many emails, and I use emails, we all do, we have to, and I just thought, how nice for me to have my own set of postcards and just send those to people with a little message on the back, and so that they would be special, and I would know which day of the week it was, because, I might forget. So, and then those are the 7 days of the week, and the black one, those are all roughs. The black one actually is working with graphite pencils, so you start with 8B, then you halve that to 4B, and so on. And on the way, you cheat a little. And that was a book we were asked to contribute to. It's an artist's cookbook. Well, we're not artists, really. We're all a mixture of everything. And I like pasta, but you need to read the copy for it to make sense. But it was actually to say, the X is ambiguous because it could either mean don't or love. And that actually says both, because it's telling Sophia Loren, who loves spaghetti, not to eat it. Because she says, what you see is what I am, because she was put on a bit of weight. And then that's another work thing, that a typeface called Alpha Pasta. And that was for the Alliance Graphic Internationale. It's self-explanatory, and that's a rough. Send it to Henrik, and he does that for me. And then this is celebrating 50 years of the British Road sign, and that's my children crossing. Those are some of the exhibits, because 50 designers were invited. Designers, painters, fashion designers. That's Betty Jackson on the left, and Henrik on the right. And then this is my contribution, and that's executing a road sign. And that's it exhibited for real, and that is going full circle because I'm adjusting the actual children crossing sign because how they used it was appalling. So I've been given a second chance. I've always been given a second chance, which is marvelous. But that's how I like to work. And that's it.